Right, I'm here with Christian Howes, who you might have seen on the telly box, doing social media analysis for the likes of Big Brother's Little Brother and the National Lottery. And he's got lots of other exciting projects on the way that he won't tell us about.
Yes.
He's kindly agreed to be our first ever interview subject for the Union Street blog, which is awful nice of him, so thanks for that, Christian.
That's all right.
And so I just wanted to kick off with a few questions.
That's good.
Cool. So can you let us know a bit more about your background before you started being on the telly box?
Well, I used to work for a web analytics company that also helped people understand their social media. And more I was helping businesses understand the trends, what was happening social and how they should interact with their customers. As an aside to that, I started getting very interested around data itself, and I started to put together basically like case studies based off publicly accessible data like Big Brother to use to help our customers and sell software.
Brilliant. Okay. And then, so how did you actually end up getting on TV? How did your first big break come about?
That's a great question. So basically, I worked with our PR agency at the time, which of course was you guys. And we started doing press around specific things using social measurement. So we would talk about, for example, the Japanese earthquake or predicting who get evicted from Big Brother. And we started getting quite a bit of press from those bits of press, basically. Not just in the sort of technology publications and marketing publications, but much wider. So I think we got in the Standard, Evening Standard, the Independent, the Sun,
yes.
So some quite big publications with this data. And the next logical progression was really to reach out to Endemol and see if they're interested. And in fact, before we even did that, I started tweeting graphs to the shows and they started showing them, but without me.
Yeah. And so then, you ended up on Big Brother's Little Brother.
Bit on the side.
Bit on the side, sorry, I'm behind on my
That's all right.
Big Brother spin-off shows there.
There are other spin-off shows already.
Okay, brilliant. And so, talking a bit more about social viewing, as it could be called, are brands and TV programmes doing enough, do you think, to make the most of that phenomena? No,
I mean it's a relatively new space. I mean I've been looking at the data for about 3 years. A raft of companies are now cropping up to deal with that notion of social interactivity when it comes to viewing. Obviously, engaging an audience is what TV is all about, and social gives them a good extension of that, being able to take that audience on a journey through screen or second screen or third screen. Basically, I think brands and production companies aren't doing enough with it, but that will change very, very quickly. You can only look around at the moment and watch the Olympics to see that that's changing.
So, have you got any examples of people that you think are doing it well?
So I think what's quite interesting, obviously I've done work with the BBC for the lottery shows, and they're quite rigid in the way that they do stuff. Basically quite conformist, and they don't want to sort of break out the boundaries. So therefore, it's quite funny that two of the things I think they've done well is The Voice UK. I think the execution was bad, but I think the notion was good. So they used to have that giant Twitter wall, which is a bit the 80s, behind all the acts when they came off. Yeah. And they would show, basically in near real time, people's positive comments towards the acts that they're talking about. That was a really good execution. Also, the Olympics. Very interesting to see that the athletes, the presenters, are all talking about Twitter.
Yeah.
So they're all actually mentioning it, which is, again, very unusual. And they're sort of saying people are asking questions on Twitter. They're showing tweets from athletes. And they're starting to use that data in the broadcast output. And I think that notion of data as entertainment is suddenly becoming quite important. We all know that stats are important, and I love the VTs when they're talking about the events and who holds a world record and the numbers and the timings, and we're all used to that. But actually then starting to take user-generated content and put it on screen is the next step.
Cool. Okay. And then, this is quite a big question, but what do you think the future holds for social media and TV?
It's going to get a lot more integrated. For me, it's about curation as well as sort of measurement and metrics. So currently, and I'll answer that in 2 stages. The first stage is, currently how we measure success of a TV programme is through things like viewing figures, which I don't know if you know about Barb, but is effectively a sort of scaled up version of a certain proportion of the population pressing buttons depending on what they're working, and from that advertising is sold, or success is deemed based on how many people are watching it. The thing about social is, and there's things like Zbox, GetGlue, Trender, Bluefin. There's loads of organisations now who are effectively trying to create a measurement for social. So effectively, guess what the most social programme apart from Olympics this week was?
This week?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything
Hollyoaks.
that was on
Hollyoaks.
other than the Olympics, yeah.
Hollyoaks. So Hollyoaks and Big Brother was second. So those shows which have probably a younger audience, but an audience that's more engaged and more in tune with second and third screens, are getting a big slice of the pie. So when it comes to things like advertising, you need to know that, because you can then do sort of cross-channel sort of advertising. So it's not just about the ad placements in the show, between the shows. It's about how you can utilise that on Facebook and Twitter as well. So I think understanding those metrics is going to become very important, and I think there are a number of companies that are trying to position themselves in that space. The second part is actually using that information and curating the experience. So for me, it's like I also like to think of things at the beginning, middle, and end. If you show a hashtag on a show and then only read out a tweet, then it's no different to putting a phone number and only reading out one message, or asking for a letter and reading out one letter.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like, points of view, if they were to get 50,000 letters, they'd read 3 out. So what about the other, the rest of the people? The thing about social is you can aggregate that data, you can curate that data, and then you can do something with it, whether it's a pie chart or a graph, or whether it's an infographic, or this is what everyone else thought, and then use that within the programme or the framework of the programme itself to get more content.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks very much,
That's
Christian.
fine.
That was really interesting. Give him a follow on Twitter. He's
Thanks.
at Dr. Casio on there.
I have no association with Casio.
So thank you very
Thank
much. And thank you.